Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Paul, and this is to go over things that I am curious about and things I've looked into, I like to share. So with today's video, I wanted to have a discussion with you guys over a recent trouble I've been having with knowledge in general, and what it means to know something, and how it's pretty much infinite, and this has bothered me a lot. So I'm going to give a couple examples, and hopefully we can be on the same page by the end of this, and if you have a comment to make, I would love the feedback on this. So let's start with a couple of these here. So one, there's a phrase in Philippians that says, the peace that surpasses all understanding will guard our hearts, etc., etc. And I've always thought about that, right? Because one of the things that I've heard a lot of new Christians say is they'll quote that and they're like, "Oh, I just have a peace right now, and it's inexplainable. You know, it's inexplainable. I can't even really put it into words." And what they're saying is true. But then I've also seen then those same people then go back and be anxiety ridden and, you know, all the other stuff. But then let's take it to someone who has experienced maybe overseas mission trips, and maybe they are in a country that is threatening Christians. Okay, realistically, when you're in a life or death scenario, that peace that surpasses understanding is probably going to be more real than what the other people experience in, like, let's just say here in America. But that's not to say the people here in America did not experience a peace that surpasses understanding. They just know it to another level deeper, okay? And I'll flesh out a few of these to hopefully get a better picture of, like, what I'm saying here. Here's another one. Okay, Jesus talks about, okay, love your enemies. Okay, so majority of us have faced a circumstance where people wrong us and we're like, okay, I'm going to love them, I'm going to forgive them. Not that hard to do, right? And so we're like, okay, we're practicing loving our enemies. And it is true, we are practicing loving our enemies. But what about those stories that we hear of parents forgiving the person for murdering their children? Talk about loving your enemy. We're like, that's absurd. They're like, that's insane. They know that phrase, no, I am loving my enemy, to a whole nother level than what we know to love our enemy when someone just wronged us or said something, you know, about us, and then we forgave them, and that's how we're loving them, right? And then here's the last one that I'll give that probably a lot of people can relate to. Let's say you have a young couple in their 20s and they get married. They're saying I love you to each other. It's a legitimate love. You go into 30, 40, they're like, you know, the love is matured, but they're like, hey, you know, we still love each other. But then it's always like, once you get to that 60, 70, 80-year-old range, you ask these grandparents, it's like, you know, talk about the difference right now between this love and that love. And you just talk about as long as the relationship is good, they just talk about how it being so much fuller and so much more meaningful. And it really is bothersome to me because we all use the same phrases. Yet, and this is one of the things I'm trying to learn, like, with communication, is yet we don't mean the same thing by them because our experiences determine what we mean by them. And so the old couple is going to say, yes, we love each other. The young couple is going to say, yes, we love each other. And both are right. But the more pure form of love, and I guess that could be argued on even what is love, but this is why there's an infinite amount of questions too about knowledge. But there does seem to be a more full type of knowing as you get through certain life experiences and as you handle hardships and all of what that entails. And the only reason why this is bothersome to me is this. If we can know the difference, even with those examples that I gave right there, within the levels, and those are reasonable, we only live X amount of years, you know, and it's not that long. Where are we in the scale of that knowledge? Do we even know, like, to say I love you to someone? You know, do we even know the essence of that? I guess is what I'm asking, because if this whole thing is a scale, how little do we know of that scale? And I guess this is in a way a question that doesn't need to be asked, because it's like, well, what's the point? Even if we do find out we know this much, Well, okay, great. Where does that knowledge get you? But this is just questions that I'm asking in my head too. And this is also partially in relation to God, because it's like, okay, different people are at different journeys and they're going to say they know God. What does it mean to know God? That's another question. The person who just gets saved, okay, yes, they know God. The person who has been through jail and persecution and all that stuff, yeah, they know God too. But it's completely different. And the person in heaven right now, they say that they know God. But what about in the way that Jesus knows the Father? How do we know the Father? Are we all the same? And this is what's bothersome to me about knowledge, is that we only know, this is an obvious statement, but we only know what we know. And each time we get to a new level, even of our own knowledge of a certain topic, almost always we look back and we're like, okay, what I'm saying was right, but what I know now, it puts, what I knew in the past makes it almost infinitely small. And that's really bothersome to me, because I'm just like, how many of these levels are there? And how long can this go on for? And if we are in a level of which we think we know something right now, well, that's kind of annoying to think that it's extremely small. Does anyone else feel me on this? Maybe this is just me thinking unnecessarily about these things, but yeah, if you have any thoughts on knowledge and how little we know or how much we know, or even just disagreements on any of the examples that I gave, please let me know down in the comment section below. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one.